Okay. No, it's not. I don't like not having that. You don't see it. I don't know. Yeah, they can hear it. They can hear it. Not like you guys don't know each other.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is so nice to see all of you in person. I know we joked about our potluck and we didn't really get to do that, but there is food, so don't hesitate to get up. Go ahead and sign in and then grab your swag and some food. Don't hesitate to get up and help yourself to more food. Please eat the snacks that are there for our snack and learn. We're gonna go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Candace Smith. You've all had me this whole semester. Whoever wants to go next.
Go ahead. I'm Marcy Dastucci. I'm a visiting lecturer and I teach the later field experiences. So.
Oh, hi, I'm Dr. Katie Gessner. I'm the associate professor and the program coordinator.
Margie, can you repeat your last name?
Dastucci.
There you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie Snyder. I am the lead mentor for the ECE.
Dr. Alicia Goldberg, and I'm just going to get adjuncts here.
Oh, hello, everyone. Dr. Marlon Cummings, I'm the Division Chair for the Division of Education and Leadership. Glad to see you.
Dr. Amy Kelly, nice to meet all of you. I usually teach, well, I teach all of the programs, but it is so nice to meet all of you. Welcome. And
Professor Evie Klosky. I teach the infant toddler field experience, and I'll be meeting all of you next year.
All right, and if all, she introduced herself. Yeah, we got everyone. We're just gonna go around the room. I know your names, and Professor Glover knows your names, but if we could just go around and you could just introduce yourself to, oh, there's Dr. Sandrick. You all met him on your way in. If we could just go around, just say your names for everyone that's in here. We'll start up here.
Aisha,
Tammy.
Myrna, Christine,
Elizabeth.
Cecilia,
Katie.
Shannon,
Jamie.
Sabrina, Kayla, Donna,
Carla.
Delia.
Oh, Randy.
All right. Well, just before we get started, I know there might be questions that come up as we go. That's what these sticky notes are for. So we're going to go through all of the information and then answer your questions. So if you have sticky notes that come, questions that come up while we're talking, write it down so you don't forget, and then just stick it in the front of the table. We may end up answering it as we go, but we'll save the Q&A for the end. Again, don't hesitate to get up and help yourself to more food and snacks. Not a problem. We're going to go over field experience information, and you are a pilot group, so we're trying some new ideas. We're going to go through all of those, talk about your next steps, and then answer any questions. All right, before we get started, is there anything you want to ask before we get started, like just in general on the agenda? No? Yes.
just to confirm, you said we're a pilot group, so this hasn't been done before?
Correct.
Okay.
So I talked with some of you about, after we had one of the classes and some of you shared some concerns, and I went back to the team and they were anxious to find ways to make it more accessible for all of you. Okay. All right. I feel like this is like an open house. Like I should have had like welcome signs. I love having all of you here. Okay, so overview of field experiences. Typically, this is a typical clinical experience. You have field experience 1, which is your infants and toddlers. So you'd be working or going to classrooms between like 8 and 11, whichever day it is, 1 week for the 14 weeks. Field experience 2 is preschool or kindergarten. So that one's split, correct? That one's split between preschool and kindergarten. So you do the first half preschool, the second half of the semester with kindergarten. Again, it's mornings for a few hours over the 14 weeks. Then you would go into field experience 3 and 4. Does somebody want to just generalize what 3 and 4?
Sure. 3 and 4 are like a combined field experience. So you're in a classroom for 1 full school day each week. And so you double up your lessons. So you're teaching 2 like literacy aligned lessons and 1 math and 1 science in a first or second grade classroom.
And then, of course, student teaching, and that is where you are, and we'll talk about placement and what job embedded looks like and that sort of thing. But student teaching is your 15 weeks of being a teacher, being in that placement. Expectations during this time, and you'll go over these when you get your introduction to your field experience, but planning, teaching, and assessing according to rubrics and standards that you'll be provided with. You're expected to be engaged on time and professional, just like your jobs, or just like if it was your classroom. Complete all requirements for the course. You'll work with a mentor teacher and a university supervisor, and that's who you've met in the room. Display a professional disposition, and we'll briefly go over that in a few minutes. And be flexible in accommodating the needs of the student. Cooperating teacher, school, and supervisor, of course. So just being flexible, just like in a class, like a regular classroom. And hours are counted during engaged time only. So lunch and nap times don't count because you're not engaging with the students. You're not having that experience with them. So you have to be engaging with the students during that time. And you do have teaching observations required in each of those. For example, field experience 1, you'll have 2 observations with 2 reflections. Abby, did you want to go over disposition?
Sure. Besides helping you develop your understanding about early childhood and educational theory, we are also preparing you to be teachers. And we want you to be the kind of teacher that you all loved having when you were growing up. So we're also looking at your skills and your experience with collaboration, which we know is so important. respect for student diversity, professional judgment and behavior, ethical behavior, your impact on learning, acceptance and implementation of feedback, and commitment to learning. So we're always helping you through all of those. We're teaching, and we're also giving you lots of opportunities to practice all of those different areas. That's part of what we're doing. We're giving you a degree.
Because at the end of the semester, we all have to then evaluate you in SLL,
Mm-hmm.
which I think you're familiar with.
They're already, yes. So dispositions and professionalism, obviously very important. There's more to being a teacher than just teaching students. So these all cover that umbrella. And it's similar to what you might see in a teaching evaluation as well. So none of that should really surprise you.
Did anyone have a question about, because we said observation, do you guys know what that entails?
Can you tell us?
Yeah, but that means we would come observe you teach a specific lesson. Twice in the earlier field experiences and then
Every single field is two. It's combined 3 and 4, so 2 for 3, 2 for 4. It's 2 evaluated observations.
Yes.
For each field.
And that's where that feedback comes back, because we'll meet with you after your first observation. And then hopefully there's, just like when you're evaluated as a teacher, you have that time to improve. If your school is using the evaluation tool properly, you're supposed to be improving. Did you have something else?
No, we were just
Okay.
side
Okay.
conversation, sorry.
Excuse me. Focus.
you're just understanding.
So these are the options that we're going to be going over. So what we tried to do was find a way that we make sure that you get the wide range of experiences that meet the criteria for the state, for gateways, and so that you end with the whole range of birth to 8 years old. So these are going to be the 4 options, and we're going to go over them in detail. Traditional university placement, and that's what we kind of talked a little bit in class about, or job embedded. Alternative, that's set up by the candidate, and then a video series. So during that, all candidates, you still have to complete and pass. There's assignments throughout and meet the expectations and requirements of the course for field experience. So now we're going to break these down a little bit. Does anybody want to be the voice of traditional university placement? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the traditional field experience is set up by us. You'll go to one of our surrounding school districts. So this looks like it's already set up at the FTC or Joliet. Look, they change though, you know, depending on how many teachers we have, it could absolutely change. So for your first field experience, we will give you a mentor teacher. We'll tell you who your mentor teacher is and tell you like what time you have to be there and all of that good stuff. And you would go on your days and times that are set out in the schedule. Yeah, so for field experience 1, you go once a week. We'll give you the day and time. Again, this is when we will come out twice to evaluate your teaching. You'll write that big, have they written the big lesson plan yet?
Yeah. Okay, you guys have done a very good job on them so far, so calm down.
So we have that for you. So in field experience 1 and field experience 2 and every field experience, you're doing 2 of those. So you'll write 2 of those big lesson plans. You'll write the lesson plan. In these early field experiences, you'll like submit it and you'll get feedback and you get to revise it before you go and teach. And then we'll come out and teach. You'll see you teach. We have a rubric that, have they seen that yet? Maybe not yet.
The Danielson rubric, or which one?
No, our
Oh,
field
no,
experience rubric.
no.
So we'll share that with you when you get to field. We evaluate you.
Don't let her scare
on
you,
your
it's fine.
teaching, and
You'll
then
be
you'll
fine.
have a reflection afterwards for each of those lessons. You also meet with your supervisor after you teach, so they can give you like feedback and notes and things to work on for the next time that you teach.
And depending on who your supervisor is, that might look a little bit different. So, but we'll talk about that. So that's traditional. So that's what, if you follow the traditional route, we place you. And for field experience 1, it's the FTC or Joliet. Right, Professor Plofsky, for you too?
Do you know that the FTC is the Family Development Center
Oh,
here
okay.
on campus? That's what that means, yeah.
Right across the street.
Yep.
Right across the street from here, yes. Well, Jamie knows it. She's right over there. Okay, so job embedded. This is for those of you that are working in schools already, and does somebody, Dr. Hisrich, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So there's, this is basically if you already work at a center or school as a teacher of record or a paraprofessional. And so there's actually two kind of options for this. It could be your own classroom if it's in that grade level. So if you're a preschool teacher at a center and you're doing for field experience too, because that's preschool, then you can do it in your own classroom. But for field experience 1, you couldn't do it in your own classroom, but a lot of people were able to switch for that one morning a week with someone else in their school to complete it. So you're still in your place of employment and it's like, no one's taken out of the classroom or, the principal's not trying to find a sub or anything like that. So it's those two options that you can choose for this. Same requirements, 2 observations. The only, the traditional the traditional option doesn't have forms, and you aren't required to have find your own mentor teacher. So there's a little bit more that you have to do with the next few options. So for this one, you do have to fill out a field experience placement form and get an MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding, and that's there's a whole process to that we'll discuss at the end of this. So. Yeah.
So we'll go over that. So this is option 2. Now, option 3 and 4 are new options. So option 3 is an alternative location. So some of you had mentioned to me that you have, let's say, you don't have infants and toddlers in your location, in your school, but you have a daycare center or an early child center very nearby, which then wouldn't have to interfere with your work schedule as much. So you can get approval from that workplace, but then you'll get an affiliation agreement. And we'll go over again with the paperwork what the affiliation agreement looks like. And you can get permission to use that location. But again, you're responsible for setting this up, completing it yourself. You have to have permission from the center. And if we're recording lessons, which might be an option depending on where everyone's at, you have to have permission from that school, the parents, prior to approval. So you'll have to take those extra steps on your own if it's not somewhere that we typically work with and it's not your place of employment. Because I know some of you come from quite far north, or your locations you need to be closer to work so you don't have to leave for as long. It's still the same requirements. You need to be there over the 15 weeks to get your hours. You'll have a placement form, and you'll have the observations and assignments as well.
The center matters, right? So you can't just pick any daycare that's near you. They have to, what are they, accredited?
Or it has to be accredited and approved.
Mm-hmm.
So both for actually the job embedded and for the alternative location.
That's where this affiliation agreement too, that has to confirm that it's like a center that is approved, that has accreditation, so that you're getting the best out of your education too. Okay, and then option 4 is a one-time video series option. So I want to make sure that's crystal clear. This will only be done one time in all of the field experiences, where you'll be allowed to choose a video series in place of going to a location. So if you're at a school that maybe is pre-K to 5th, just for example, but you don't have infants and toddlers, and you want to take infants and toddlers as a video series instead, this will be your one time. So you'll get asynchronous activities that include video series to watch as though you're in an observation that will open weekly. And you'll still be responsible for doing lesson plans and reflections and recorded lessons that meet the criteria, which mean you either find children that are of that age, or we have a conversation about ways to do that. There will be some fishbowl for watching each other as well, but that'll go with your weekly assignments. Now, you only get to choose this once, and once you make the decision, it's made. So let's say you thought, well, I don't have infants and toddlers, so I'm going to use the video series, but then you make a job switch and you're like, well, I don't have pre-K anymore, but you'll have to choose one of the other options for pre-K, because otherwise it gets really tricky with licensure. So we want to make sure that we offer this, but we can't do it throughout all of them. Did you want to talk about the split one and how this impacts that as well? Or somebody?
3 and 4 are separate field experiences.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you choose the video for field experience 3, let's say, okay, and that's literacy, okay? Then that means you have to teach field experience 4, right? So you'll still have to be in a first or second grade classroom, and for those lessons, you'll have to teach math and science, okay? So that means it could be the afternoon or it could be the morning, depending on when they teach those subjects, right? So we have to have flexibility in thinking about how we're scheduling, because in your schedule, it might say, does it say 3 and 4 is in the afternoon, or 4 is in the afternoon, I think it is in the schedule, and field experience 3 is in the morning, but it could, you could have to go in the morning, or you could, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Oh, that's clear. Also, just so we're very clear about this, it is video, we want to be accommodating, but it's not like you're going to be getting out of the work. Like, this isn't necessarily an easier option, because you are still going to have to meet hours. Like, you have to have a certain number of field hours for licensure, so you will have to be observing, like Dr. Smith said, these videos and providing written responses and discussions and things like that.
That's exactly what the videos look like.
Yeah. You're watching someone teach, just like you would if you were in the classroom. You'd be watching your mentor teacher teach, and you'd be, reflecting.
And you do weekly reflections when you're in the classroom. So very similar. You've got these video series that you're watching, and you have a rubric for the reflections to make sure that you're getting as close of an experience as possible outside of the actual classroom.
And like Dr. Smith said, you're still doing the lesson plans, both of them. You're still doing the teaching, and you're still doing the reflect. You're still doing all of the assignments. It's just you don't have to go anywhere for one of the 4.
Right,
Yeah.
just one. We want to make sure, because
Yeah.
we don't want you to choose it for field experience 1 and then 3 comes around and you're like, I also need it for 3. So that's why we're upfronting all this information so that you can start thinking now. There are requirements for your mentor teachers. So if you're doing job embedded or affiliation agreement, for obvious reasons, they have to have a valid and current teaching license, right? We can't have you just going into a classroom of a teacher that maybe is a long-term sub or something like that. At least 3 years of teaching experience in that appropriate grade level range. So think about that when you're thinking about who your mentor teacher is. If you're doing job embedded or affiliation, who is that mentor teacher who has this experience and teaching full-time in school where you work. So when you're coming up with the MOU, you have to have this person picked because you need a person to go to. You're new, right? So the mentor, they're supposed to mentor you, actually provide feedback and mentorship. Katie, did you want to go over this one? Okay. So the mentor teachers will collaborate with lesson plans, assure learning is taking place, provide feedback, provide the counseling, troubleshooting, consult with the university supervisor, and basically we're asking them to model best practices, behavior in the learning environment, and facilitating guidance, providing honest feedback, high expectations, and communication. So it's someone you want to be able to have where you want to learn from. I mean, I'm hoping in your place of work, those of you that aren't in schools, that you have someone that you're like, I really admire the way they teach. So that will be the person that we want to look towards. And discussing with them, their requirements, because they are going to need to give you feedback and guidance and provide support. Okay, so these again are the 4 options that we just went over. So traditional, university placement, job embedded workplace, alternative, which is the other location, but remember it has to be accredited, and then the one-time video series. So that gives you that one time where if you don't have that in your place of work that you can look to. Do you want to go over the forms?
Sure. So if you are doing either the option 2 or 3, which is the job embedded workplace, or the alternative location, you have to complete a field experience placement form. And that basically fills out kind of all the information about your school, where it is, who your mentor teacher is, And then you have to get your, you have to sign it, your principal and the mentor teacher has to sign it. And then if you're doing option 2, you have to have an MOU. And once you submit the field experience placement form, the MOU-based process actually starts, and I'll show you what that looks like. And that has to be signed by the candidate and the principal. And if you're option 3, then you do an affiliation agreement.
You want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah. I'm just on my computer.
You can come up here.
No, it's okay.
I don't, you guys are all like.
This is what it kind of looks like, basically, that you'll fill out. It has directions, what to fill out, where to send it to when you're done. And then the next slide has an example filled out. So it's pretty simple. And then, let's see. So to keep in mind on the next slide, but all the form, basically all the information has to be filled out in its entirety. Otherwise we have to send it back and it could prolong everything. We don't want to delay your start for field experiences. You'll be sending the field experience placement form to myself and the MOU representative for our college.
I'll be sharing this slideshow under announcements afterwards too. Okay, so you're gonna get all this information.
And I'll once this is over next week, basically you'll receive the forms to get started as well. And then on the next slide, this is kind of what your email looks like. So after you submit your field experience placement form, if you're doing options 2 or 3, then you get an email that looks like this. And a lot of people don't think it's anything, but you really have to look for it, and you'll have to sign it, and then it's going to be sent automatically to your principal, and then they sign it. So it's sent via like a DocuSign email. So it's really important to make sure that you sign it, so it continues that process, and then you are also responsible for making sure, like, hey, did you sign that yet, to your principal or director.
What is the difference between an MOU and an affiliation agreement?
I'm going to let Dr. Viacula.
Oh, Dr. Viacula snuck in too. You didn't get to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. Hopefully you won't have to contact me too much, but just know that that's why I was late. I was talking to a and got some issues. So I'm Dr. Amy Viaclia. I direct the Educator Preparation Program. And the MOU is an understanding between you, among you, the university, and the school, and your placement. The affiliation agreement covers us legally, university to placement. You're not like part of that particular equation. That's why we have to add the MOU piece in to include you in that agreement. So the affiliation is just, we have approved that site. And then the MOU is you're agreeing to all of these pieces. So it's just the legal difference really. And I will be there along the way as you go through the program, all the way to the end, whenever, just like this Thursday, we'll be having a licensure meeting with the people who are finishing student teaching. So I look forward to having that conversation with you all too.
And here is the MOU filled out. This is just a screenshot of what it looks like. All right, so before I take, I'll go in a few minutes and take some questions, unless there's something anyone else wants to say, but you need to submit your choice before the semester starts because we need to plan for it. As we're doing this pilot, if we have, say, the group of the 19 of you that are in the master's program, and we've got you split amongst the 4 things, we need to be able to have all the paperwork prepared and everything laid out, planning wise, but also if you are doing an MOU and or an affiliation agreement, you need to have all your ducks in a row so that that's done too. So the decision will need to be made sooner than later. Anything required has to be done and accepted prior to the start of the semester. That's why we're having this early in December instead of later, So that gives you the next few weeks before your school breaks to start getting all that paperwork in. And all requirements of the course must be met. And again, this is how important this is to make sure we emphasize this. Choice number 4 can only be done one time. Okay, so the videos are a one-time thing. Yes.
And there have been people who've not been able to start on time because of, glitches in the system and not getting stuff turned in. So then it means you have to make up the hours somehow. So
Which
it's
is
not,
doubling up days. and-
so
Yeah, you don't wanna do
I have
that.
a few people who are, it's like, the school year will go, and schools will stay open until December 22nd, 21st, and Governor State will end next week. So there is some wiggle room, but just pushing it back to the last minute is not good. And there are some procrastinators and
Yeah, well, don't be a procrastinator, just get your own ones in, because you don't want to worry about this over break. You don't want to be like, oh, is it approved, is it not approved? You don't
Because
want
what's
that.
the default? University placement. So if that's not what you want to do, then you gotta get it in.
Yeah,
And this whole thing is like a 3 to 4 week process.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know how slow paperwork.
And especially over the holidays when GSU is closed, right? So it's not just us that's working on, there's multiple other parties and offices that are involved in this, so.
because it's a legal thing. Are you going over these? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So really like think about these steps. So first, think about the choices that are best for you and your center. And really for this time, at least just focus on your 2 field experiences for spring semester, right? Think about it yourself, talk to your director principal if you are working in a early childhood setting. And then next week you'll be sent the link to a Google form, and that's when you're actually gonna make your choice on, hey, for field experience 1, I'm gonna choose to do this option. Field experience 2, I'm gonna choose to do this option. So that lets us know, okay, so that's gonna need to be done in 2 weeks, okay? That's still the last possible date. Earlier the better. Then after that, you complete that, and I will send this out next week along with the Google, so it's all in one email, so you can save it. I'll send the Google link to the form, and then I'll send the field experience placement form to you. Then if you're doing option 2 or 3, the alternative location or the job embedded, you'll fill out the field experience placement form and submit that by, again, the last possible date, but we would prefer earlier, is the 22nd, which is that Friday, like holidays and everything. People go on break, schools close. And then if you're option 2 only, option 2, it'll be a couple weeks after you submit the field experience placement form. It'll take a couple weeks, especially with the break, that you will hear back and get the DocuSign email for the MOU. So it does take a couple weeks, so don't freak out. And then you'll have there'll be a week period for you to sign it, your principal never would sign it. It's pretty quick. You just click the link button and then click your name, sign, done. And then if you're doing option 3 though, the alternative location, you'll need to contact, and Dr. Viek will correct me if I'm wrong, Andrea Del Polo, to talk about the process of completing an affiliation agreement.
Because we might have one. We might already have one that we're looking at, and then we can skip that stuff, and you can just do that MOU. Because there are a lot of districts that we have affiliation agreements.
Yeah, so definitely reach out as soon as you start to have an idea. The sooner, the better. Was that okay? All right. Somebody want to go over student teaching?
Sure.
Dr. Kelly does.
I love student teaching, it's my favorite part. Okay, so when you student teach, you have to be in a preschool through 2nd grade classroom, so you can't be with infants and toddlers for licensure purposes. For student teaching, you're the teacher, right? You're going to take over the classroom. So you have to be there every day, all day, before school, after school, all of that stuff. It can be job embedded, and you can request that placement when you apply. So you'll apply, when do we apply? Like spring next year, I think? It's early. It's like a whole year in advance. So next semester you'll probably.
Well, and that is why this week's class, Career Services, is coming to talk to you about resumes and cover letters. So you can be prepared when those, because you have to submit that with your application.
Yeah, those are part of the application. So also, even if it is job embedded, or if you are the teacher of record, is anyone the teacher of record? you are the teacher of record. You still need a mentor teacher. So I've only had one student teacher who was the teacher of record, and so she had a mentor teacher, and we'll talk about ways that you can make that work. But so what she did was like on her plan period, went into the other classroom and observed in her classroom, and then the mentor would come in and observe her, because you still need a mentor, right, to earn a license. And to do, there's a lot of elements of evaluation and observation that a mentor teacher has to do in order for you to earn your license. Yeah, so make sure you pay attention to any emails. I know you get so many, but like Andrea Del Paulo, that's a good name to remember. Like highlight her name, right? Dr. H, like highlight her. If you get anything from Dr. Biaclia, like pay attention to those, please, because there's a lot of deadlines and applications and just paperwork stuff that we know is a lot. So we're here to answer questions and support you, because this is what we want to get you there, right? So. I don't think we need to go into all the details of
No,
teaching.
no, that's just
The
general.
days and yeah.
And we've had students who have missed the application for student teaching and they had to wait till the next
Push it
semester.
back.
Yeah. So.
They're very strict on
and
that
could also be
deadline.
If you don't get your forms in on time for the field experience, then,
Yeah.
like Dr.
Yeah.
Kelly said.
They don't, when it comes to that student teaching application, it's like a day is too late. So, okay, who's talking about content exam?
I will. So basically, it is required for you to pass the early childhood content exam for licensure before student teaching. So if you do not pass it, and that's usually basically, so like for this semester, they had to actually take it and pass by November 19th this semester. They wanted to student teach in spring. So some people waited to take it the last time or only one time and they didn't pass and you can't student teach. So there are multiple dates, there are multiple locations to take it. So you just want to be aware of that. The best time to actually take it is probably for you like end of spring, summer. Take it like once, at least for the first time, see how you do, see what areas you need to work on.
They're all gonna pass it the first time. It's not gonna be a problem.
Don't worry about it. But yeah, you don't want to go into the mindset you're gonna be able to take it again. No, you're gonna pass it. But in case you do, you don't want to have the strategy of, I'll just keep taking it multiple times over and over and over again. That's not the best approach. It actually, students actually usually do worse the more they take it.
And it's super expensive.
Yes, and it's expensive and it's a waste of time. Yeah. So you really want to take it, like, actually just have, approach of studying over time.
And all these slideshows that I'm like, hey, the reason they look like this is so that you have them, keep those. Your alternative exam I gave you, the way it's laid out, gets your brain kind of thinking like the content exam. So think about that. So like, I don't care if you download all my PowerPoints, you can have them, they're for you. I don't need them. So keep all those, and I would keep those 2 books you bought this semester. Because it's a lot of that stuff, unless you already returned them, but then you have all the PowerPoints anyway.
This is a state exam. This is not a GSU thing. This is a Illinois licensure test that you have to pass.
And that's why I've told you guys we've made so many changes, and then I keep bringing that up, and the way that I have you do activities and stuff is because I'm trying to get your mind thinking like the content exam. Hey.
Been here for 40 minutes, but we won't talk about it.
Oh, no. All right, we'll go over everything at the end. Get yourself some food, okay? I'm glad you're here, though. All right. So again, this is all about the testing system. Do you want to go over any of that?
No, it's just a show. You'll get an email from me about the content exam and like prep sessions. Our lead mentor Jackie here will be leading some prep sessions. They're only like 3 times maybe in the spring semester. So I highly recommend attending those. Some people have attended them, all of them, or once, whatever works for you. But there's other sessions, like if you have like test taking anxiety, the ARC can help with that, or counseling center, or they also offer tutoring. So for the content exam, but definitely don't push it off till next November or even next October. Take advantage of all the resources that we're providing to support you with it.
All right. So I see some of you wrote down sticky notes. Can I have them, please? Oh, well, that's okay. I'll answer the sticky notes first. If anybody has questions? Just
I mean,
no.
it's not a good question. I mean,
Okay.
you're not gonna.
All right. This is a good question because I don't, this one, Dr. Hisrich, I might need you to answer. So she's in a special ed class that's K to third. It's special ed. For kindergarten?
For kindergarten,
It's kindergarten through third grade in that classroom.
Oh, so you're in a self-contained? I don't think that-
Yeah, it's
I don't
called
think you're-
cluster.
It's cluster.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know.
I'm
I'll hold on to
it.
Dr. Kelly.
I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
no,
Someone else, yeah.
no, because is there a way for you to, like, for your field, like, when you have, like, your half day, are there other classrooms that you could, like, switch? Like, is there a para, like, in a second grade classroom that you could switch?
Yeah,
over
like that
to
option
preschool?
2B,
I
you
probably
know, where it's like
could.
you could
Yeah.
switch.
But I have to, that's why I was just telling
Yeah.
her, I kind of not need my paperwork like soon, so I can talk that over.
Yeah,
And you were saying not till next week, but then we're.
no, let's start talking about it now, like, go to
Yeah.
school
Well,
tomorrow.
no, you
and
start talking about it now.
Talking to your
Yeah.
principal,
Yeah.
and talking about,
Yeah.
yeah, your needs for.
Like, we're just saying, like, the paperwork doesn't need to be
Yeah.
submitted
I'm not
until
sure.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about, did I feel?
Because you know what, you're not earning a license in special education, so you don't want to do these field experiences in a special education classroom, right? You're earning a license
Are you
in an
planning on
early
special?
childhood degree.
Eventually. Okay.
I'm sorry?
She is eventually planning special ed. We'll have you chat with her afterwards. Who just handed me this on lesson? Okay, yes. Is this about our class or is this about this? Yep. They're all gonna look like that. What did we say in class? We talked about this. When you are in an education program, it's because we have to get your brain working like that. Yeah, it's slightly abbreviated for infants. Yeah, for infants and toddlers it is.
But guess what? The more you do something, the better you get at it, right? That's the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, so your field experience is next semester, like I kind of mentioned, you'll have the opportunity to like write it, get feedback, revise it, then submit it. When you get to the next semester, when you get to the fall, that's not gonna happen. I expect you to be able to do it by then, right? And you will, you will.
You gonna be.
Well, whoever you're.
Oh,
supervisor
I
She's laying out her expectations right now. Okay, so this, so the morning time, that's the whole thing. That's why we're offering these other options for, so the other options, that's why if you're within your school, you have to work something out with an administrator to go into those other age.
So I need to do the morning, can't be in the afternoon. Right?
No, it can't be after work because the students aren't learning after
Yeah.
work.
Day. Or whichever one.
Daycare, infants, toddlers.
But it's
But
also
they're, like, for example, the FDC, after 2:00, it's nap time's over, we're diapering, everybody's leaving, yeah, well, but waking up from naps, she's like, they don't wake up till
It's
3:00.
also like.
So you won't, there's no, like, you have to be able to have the group of students and the learning time with them. And then different mentor each time. So if they're in their schools, does the mentor have to be different each time?
It would be.
Yeah,
Like,
you
you
don't
don't
have
have
to
to
be grade level.
It's by whatever grade level you're working with.
Because if they have, like, for student teaching, you guys have 5 years of experience in the grade level, there's certain requirements for student teaching according to the state. Same thing with field experiences, they have to have 3 years in that grade level, so you would, and so.
Yeah, so you
switch
need
grade
like
levels,
a kindergarten,
right,
a
or
pre-K.
courses, you have to switch your mentor.
Can it be anyone, or is it like the room that you're in should be that mentor?
Well, if you're a para, then it's gonna be that, right? If you're a parent of school, then that's your mentor teacher.
An email of the content exam.
I mean, like, when to apply, because I thought by January, we need to apply for the content exam. So
Are
are
you
we
ta-
gonna get an email to remind us? It should be a year before.
No, are you talking about student teaching or the content exam? The content exam, you have some time, but it will come through.
Application form for the student.
Yeah, Andrea sent that out.
Yeah.
That's due February 1st. If you're student teaching in spring 2025, that's due February 1st.
So,
Yeah, it's.
So we
it's
get
like
an
a
email
whole
from her,
year.
right?
You should have, yeah, you get an email from her.
so search her name up in your email and see if it pops up.
Dalpolo, DALPOLO.
And we'll, if not, we'll come back to that.
I have a really good question.
Yes.
Mine is, so we are getting the SPED endorsement, why wouldn't it work? Great
It's a
question.
SPED,
It's
it's
a
not a
great,
SPED,
yeah, but it's a
not a
great
SPED
question.
endorsement, it's a SPED approval for only preschool.
Right, so you earn
It's approval.
an approval to teach preschool, special education preschool.
Preschool, it's not
It's
an
not,
endorsement.
an endorsement on your license, it says special
Yeah, it
education.
says approval.
You go back to the program.
No, it's approved.
No, it's just it's a SPED approval for preschool. In order to earn an endorsement, you have to come back and
You have
take all
to
this
take the
courses.
post-bac 18 credit hours and do more field work in a SPED classroom.
Yeah, under your.
And take a SPED content exam.
Yeah, it's a separate, because it's a separate endorsement.
Right, you can earn your LBS one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Preschool or you gonna come back?
She's just putting you right in your place
She
today.
always complaining.
I like you two next to each other. This is a good balance. This is work. This works. Hey, it's nice to have you guys side by side. Okay, someone asked they have an MOU. Do you need another one? Who asked that question? You have an MOU already set. You filled it out already?
It's been down since last semester.
She has an MOU already. Does she need to do another one?
We'll have to check it. So they actually will check that. So when you submit your field experience placement form, they will check it before they send out like the DocuSign. So if it's still valid, if it, if not, depending on how old of it, that type of thing, then they might say, oh, we already have your MOU in file and this like that, and then you won't have to sign one, but you might have to another time, like the next semester or whatever.
Can I pick my own grade to, I'm sorry, what? I'm
I
sorry.
think she's waving at me. Do you have your hand up?
Okay, hold on. Can I pick my own grade to student teach? You're gonna fill that out on your application, and if it's job embedded, you're going to wanna, student teach.
So would it be for that whole semester or do you have to,
Oh, for student teaching?
Yeah.
Student teaching, it's the whole semester.
for that one grade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the whole semester.
Now,
You apply, yeah.
if you're doing a job embedded, but like if you just apply for student teaching and we're finding your placement, you do not. You pick like your top 3 districts that you want to go to, and then we just ask them, and it'll be usually K to 2 placement.
Yeah.
There's only 2 options for student teaching.
Right.
You pick 3 options and we place you, or it's job embedded.
So, but yeah, it's 1 grade level for the
For the
whole.
whole
Yeah.
Jamie?
Monday through
7
Friday.
Mine was
days.
pretty specific, so I did write down. I work at the FTC, so am I gonna do number 1 or I'm gonna do number 2?
So they're usually pretty good about working with us.
She works at the FTC, so is she
So
option
what
1?
age level are you with?
Oh, she would be option 2.
Shoot, 2, bummer. You
2.
gotta fill out the paperwork.
She does? She has to fill out the MOU?
You have to fill out the, because it's, we have to have the MOU, I'm sure, right? But we have to have the, field placement form, so the mentor teaching and everything.
But I'm not going to be with I'm in pre-K and I have to do.
Infants, toddlers.
Yeah,
Or if
right.
it's toddlers, then maybe there's someone they can switch, like that.
Right, well, she's
Because
just
option
asking
2
for,
would
does
be-
she need to do the paperwork or
Yes.
does that, or
Yes,
just do
absolutely,
traditional?
yes, yes.
Okay.
No matter what, if you're doing option 2, like, yes, you have to do the
But that's confusing because she works at the
That
FTC
is-
and that's our placement. That is confusing.
Okay, is the content exam the only exam? Yeah, for the state, the content exam is the only state, unless you're getting like a different type of endorsement, on your own. So
There are
for
student
early
teaching
child.
like requirements, but there's not another test.
Yeah, the exam is for the state, for licensure. Okay. All right, any other questions that weren't written down? Oh, we got a whole series here, hold on. All right. What happens if you don't get a good mentor? That happens. So if they meet the requirements, but then they turn out they're not so great.
Frequently
Okay.
talk to the principal and.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we will help you. So you you can do what you can do, right? But we will help you. So if this is, are you worried like field placements? Like, so if it's a field
Do you mean
placement,
student teacher
or
or
you mean
field?
student teaching?
Both.
Okay.
Okay.
So if it's a field placement, it's gonna depend on the severity of if the person is good or not. There are some that just aren't that great. And that's a learning opportunity, right? And that's how we're gonna approach it. You're not there, you're only there a half day or even a full day in 3 and 4. If there are like, things that they're unethical things or, just bad things, then we will pull you out of there. We will make sure that we can get you in another placement and move you along in the program. Unfortunately, that has happened in student teaching. We'll pull you out, but it's so rare that like we don't usually have to worry about it.
as far as like I said, some of our field mentors, they're not the best. We won't use them again if, but we do try and kind of keep you in the placements, just to, keep those relationships. But again, if it's something bad, that's what your supervisors are here for. We will support you, and we are the ones who will step in and say something if we need to. So you don't have to take that on yourself. Absolutely. That's a good question.
Yes. How will you be observed during the video series? So you'll try, if you don't have children of that age that like you have access to, like you don't have your own children or nephews or nieces or neighbors, then we'll have to have you do some performance theater with stuffed animals.
We've done it
or
before,
something.
though, you guys, and it works.
But you still have to do the whole lesson. We can't do the, like, I would say, no, you have to act like it's happening.
They would teach to like their stuffed animals.
Yeah, Dr. Guy and I did this during COVID.
Yeah.
And but somehow, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, they did a good job.
The
They,
kids
like,
are all really
asked
well behaved.
questions, go to the stuffed animals.
You don't have to worry about classroom management.
Yeah.
Is there a number?
No, you just want to have some kids interacting with the lesson of age. So, how long does the content exam pass last? Did you already take it? Is that what? No. Why you want to take it early?
It doesn't expire.
It doesn't expire. You're good.
No.
No, you're good.
But there is a limit to how close the part you can take.
Yes. What is it, 2 weeks?
30 days.
30. Oh, it's 30 days.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought it was 2 weeks.
They
can do it sections.
Okay. Well.
So you take it 30 days and then you can't take it
If you
again.
don't pass it, you cannot take it for another 30 days. So if you have a number coming up where you have to pass it, you need to make sure you have more than one time. If you may think you want to take it more than once, you need 30 days in between, and then plus their 2-week return time.
Right, so you'll walk out and they're gonna hand you a sheet of paper, pass or
That's it,
fail.
right.
Right. But you won't get your actual scores for 2 weeks. You're right. the
And
official scores.
I recommend taking it after your summer courses, and here's why. Based on what I've seen, the students that take the summer courses and then go and take it seem to do better. So like you've had enough like coursework under your belt and you've taken these summer courses, which kind of feed into the information that comes on the content exam, and they've been successful for the most part. So.
It's 14 days, but 30 if it's the gifted test.
Okay. She just looked it up. Okay.
But I still suggest going to the prep sessions
Yes.
that are offered in the spring.
Prep sessions, I do know some students that use the study guide book too. So,
But they say good things about your
Everyone
slides
said
and
it's
stuff.
great.
yeah, so the prep sessions are good and they're online. They're online, so. Other questions? Yes.
So the field experience is just the experience, there's not a class attached to it?
Well, there is a class. So like, if you are in 4.5 or 6.550 you're also gonna have 6.55 0.
Okay, she said I don't have to take that class because of my previous classes at community college. So is that going to affect anything?
That's a separate thing, but you still would have to, I would have to actually talk to you.
Yeah, talk to Dr. Hisrich separately, because I don't have an answer for that. I've never had that ever happen, so.
That's a conversation.
And in terms of like the field experiences in general, you won't jump into the classroom like week 1. You're gonna have like an information session with your supervisor as your class first.
Yeah,
So you're gonna
pay
get all your
attention to that,
information,
though, like,
yeah.
when it's offered, because it might be, because your field experience is during the day, but your classes are at night. So that first week, you're gonna be meeting as a class to go over, all the first day of class stuff, all the requirements for class,
Yeah,
whatever.
so-
it might be offered like a little different time, like it just might be different. So pay attention to your emails a week or 2 before class starts, announcements on their Blackboard shell, anything from your professors so that you know, hey, okay, I know, just keep in mind, week 1, I know I'm meeting at some point to talk about my field experience because, that's what week 1 is for. You're not starting the classroom on week 1.
No, and we might work it out too. I have workforce, so if you're in 4550 and 4551, we'll probably do like the field experience info session the first night of our 4550 class. We'll go over both. And then if you want to jump in on my 6550, because we're splitting for masters. Yes.
So like for me, I'm in the military, so if I have to leave and stuff, how do I work around like making up field experiences or anything?
So you'll have to actually, you still have to complete the hours. So the best bet is to, as soon as you know, like we talked about when we did it, let your professor know. And then, you'll want to also talk to your mentor teacher, figure out some dates that you can make these up. You might want to do some before and some after, so it's not all after, because it also might impact, especially if you know that in advance, so they can plan their teaching schedule. So I would let them know.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll talk as we go, because it's gonna be one of us for field experience 1. Field experience 2, who's teaching field experience 2?
I'm a very brand new hire, which we're really excited about, and, Dr. Sandra.
Okay, so that would be for these students, the new and Dr. Sandrick? Okay. So, Dr. Sandrick will be your, professor for field experience 2, and do you know
For
the?
one of them, for one of,
No,
I believe he's doing 6-5-6-1.
Okay,
And so the new hire is doing 4-5-6.
so workforce,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Any other questions that we can answer?
I have one more question.
Yes.
You said the field experience 1 and 2 is like only a couple hours, a week, you know, and then for field experience 3 and 4, it's the whole day.
So it's essentially a half day and a half day. And what we do in field 3 and 4 is we try and combine them into a one full day. So if you did one of like the video option for 3 or 4, then you do a half day. But if you're not, we want you there the full day. It's a really great experience for, to set you up for some teaching too, to be in a classroom all day. You get to see from they arrive until they go home and the changes that they go throughout the day, you know, and all of those things that you're gonna have to take on when you're a student teacher.
Plus you have like the rapport with your mentor teacher, you know,
Yeah.
they,
You get to know our kids a lot better.
Yeah, that's great.
So for each of the field experiences where we would come in 1 day a week, is that for all of them? Where, minus the student teaching, because I know that's Monday through
Right.
Friday, but for like 3 and 4, it's still gonna be 1 day a week.
Well,
For
it's
15
3 and 4 separate, just like 1 and 2. So this semester, you have 1, so that's infants and toddlers, and then you have 2, which is split. You do, how many weeks? 6 weeks in pre-K, and then 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
So, yeah,
I don't teach 2, so as you can tell. I don't know what, you split it between pre-K and kindergarten.
yeah, so they.
So that's one
2 mornings.
time, so it's 2 mornings.
Well, so the workforce though is different from the traditional field experience 2. So for field experience 2, you either have preschool or kindergarten, so you don't have to switch, you don't split.
I didn't know that, okay.
So
Like,
we,
it says we get
so I could do kindergarten.
We choose it for
Elementary.
Preschool or kindergarten, because they're both considered like pre-primary according to the state.
So what's the 3 and 4?
Like in my school, the
First
three
and
is
second
almost 4 years old. so it's
First and
hard.
second.
First is 3 and second is 4.
It's first
Right.
4 seconds.
Yeah.
It's one of the primary.
They're 4, right? Okay, hold on. Let's look at this.
No, go back to the actual field placement, the field 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
That is one. Okay, so these are 2 separate fields. 3 and 4 are 2 separate fields, but we like to put them together. So you are going to, if you do both of these fields, we want to see you in a classroom all day, 1 day a week. Thursday is my day. That's when I go out and see my 3 and 4s, right? So they're in classrooms all day on Thursday. We don't even like separate anything. Like we just talk about everything together, but you upload like your 2 literacy lesson plans to 71 and your math and science lesson plans to 81, right? So that's how we're differentiating between the 2. You may have a different supervisor for 71 and 81, which is probably good because then you're getting different feedback. And it's always good to have somebody else's perspective. But that's how that kind of looks. So yours is Wednesday or Thursday, it looks like. It's going to depend on what the schedule comes out, what you sign up for. I think is that clear?
Yeah, and I will say, the date that's in there right now, it might slightly change the day of the week for your course, because if you're job embedded, like, it might and your location's really far for us to observe, like, you know, it might be on a Tuesday, so you'll kind of, it might vary according to your, you know, what happens with your professors.
It's like, what day were they supposed to have field this semester? Thursday?
Right.
And you had to.
I had us do some on Tuesdays and some on
Yeah.
Wednesdays.
So,
And they were job
and if it's
embedded.
job embedded.
Well,
though, you're
especially
down.
with the master's group, which is a lot larger,
Yeah.
so with one supervisor.
So just keep that in mind. That's why we want your information as soon as possible, so we can work this out.
So, get out to where we
Well,
need to go.
Tamika?
I just had one question, that was about the infant and toddlers, because we were still talking about that with the age range. Does that infant and toddlers go to 3?
0 to 3?
Yeah.
Because infant and toddlers, it's to 3
Mhm.
years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a 3-year-old classroom.
No.
You said what?
It's not a 3-year-old classroom, it has to be infant toddler classrooms. 3-year-old classroom is considered preschool, because infant toddlers typically move into preschool when they turn 3.
So what are you doing to accommodate for infant and toddlers for the working class?
Well, I'm gonna pull you and go over it, because we just went over it. This is all the stuff we just
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about. So we'll go over all that with you.
So I have a question. I know it has to be one day for the observation, but like for like weekly, can we do like half, like 2 days, like half day math, like for literacy and half day for math? Like, does it have to be one whole day?
Are you job embedded?
Yeah.
What what's your position right now?
I'm an ELA teacher. I pull out the groups. I don't have a classroom.
Are you in a you're in a K-12 school or K-5 school?
Pre-K to 5th grade.
I'm sorry?
Pre-K to 5th grade.
Okay.
Those are different
Um,
semesters.
We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, we'll have to,
We'll want to, yeah.
yeah, we'll have to figure that out, if that works out, if it's like, we'll have to work that, because, yeah, I understand you don't have your, like, a summer class.
Right, and you don't want to miss a whole day
Right,
of your
no,
job, right. I guess
Yours
that-
is a separate.
Yeah, so we'll have to, when we get to 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, you never seen your face. I thought that's why.
Questions? Yes.
I know we'll probably go over it, but can you give like a rundown of the field experience? Like, I just thought we were gonna like observe.
Right.
Right. Can you
We're, you'll be in the room for like active learning, so again, not, you might fall in there snack time, right? But not lunchtime and not nap time. And you're basically going in there and like joining in with the class. You should be engaging with the children, you're observing what's happening, you'll be writing reflections, so you're like in it.
So that's what
And then we're coming to you, you're gonna do a formal lesson plan, and we're gonna see you teach that lesson plan.
on the day you tell us?
Yes.
What, like, we'll have like
Yeah,
a
2 total.
each week y'all will know the day?
Yeah. We schedule.
Yes, we'll know the day, sorry.
Do that.
No, because you're gonna have to submit the lesson plan and get it approved prior to your day, and then we're gonna have all your days scheduled out. So you'll see like, especially with so many, like in the masters, we'll have
We try to do that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So as soon as we know your schedules and when, like, I'm there, I'm gonna be there in the morning, I can teach, you know, it's not lunchtime, it's not nap time, you're gonna use, there's like these 3 hours that you can teach, that's when we'll schedule your lesson, and you will know well in advance, so you have time.
And
to
we
set
don't
that.
really allow, like, unless you're sick, you
Oh,
don't
yeah, we
change your
can't.
day.
No.
Because you're, like, a lot of us, like, she's got student teachers on top of field experience. We have multiple field experiences happening, so like, when we schedule those
driving
days.
all
We don't reschedule it,
Yeah. No, we're not gonna just pop in and be like, hey, let's make a lesson. No, you'll go over the lesson with us first. We'll talk about it, talk about how you're going to, you know, you'll talk to your mentor teacher, especially if you're like, a lot of our students aren't as comfortable with infant and toddlers, so they have to get a lot of help with.
Oh, sorry.
You're supposed to be the one keeping everybody focused.
Come on, y'all.
So that you might need a lot of guidance, especially.
So, but for the field experiences, so it's not one specific day, because there's this, like a fitness fun bus that comes to our school, and the classes go on for half an hour.
Okay.
Like on that one day.
Okay.
So the teachers aren't, I won't have anything.
Well, with job embedded and with that, we sometimes try to offer a little bit more flexibility on the day. Because we're not gonna be able to get to, like, it's not like we're gonna go see all 19 of you on Mondays.
Right.
This is made up time, but like
Yeah.
Mondays, 9 to noon, yeah. It's a little
Like
more
this
flexible.
semester, I'm at a school and Thursday's our day, right? And it just happens to be their like team plan to have like an hour and a half of where their kids are gone. It's like, oh my God. And so they accommodated our students to like go into other classrooms during that time. Yeah, so things like that always happen. Like there's always something like that, so we'll make it work.
And those are things we'll talk about. That's why it's important to make your decision early so we can talk about and get all the details
Because
worked
there's
out.
so many moving parts with all you guys like working and placements and options. So yeah, as soon as we can.
This is a random question. Is Governor State the only school that offers the master's program? Or,
Early childhood?
for the.
For initial licensure,
Yeah.
there's masters in early childhood for those who like already have licensure. For initial licensure, it's not the only school, but there's fewer. So there's different master's programs. So ours has initial licensure. So it's for people who have a bachelor's in something else, right? And you're getting, not for people who like already have a bachelor's in education and then they're just getting a master's.
I wanted to mention too that choice one, if you're thinking about for infant toddler field experience, we have the Family Development Center here that's across the street. We also have an agreement with, what's it called? Catholic Charities in Joliet. So if that's closer to you, there's 3 schools there.
We have a lot of
and-
CPS.
Pardon?
We have a lot of in the city.
Yeah, okay. So there's just those 2 options.
Oh, you live in Joliet?
Yeah. So can I say, can you place me in Joliet for infant and toddler?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's more options than just, for the traditional one, it's not just at FEC, it's a little more leeway there.
Yes.
So like choice 3, if that is like, I wanted to go to the school district closest to my house, like that's an option.
Yeah, but you have to get an affiliation agreement.
And you have to get all the forms signed, like the video recording forms.
Yeah, for observation, depending on location too.
Most of the like our surrounding schools where we place, we have affiliation agreements.
And we have, we'll check out to make sure it's approved and everything, and it has the grade level that's required and everything.
You guys have like the Frankfurt School District?
Mokina?
We're there right now.
Actually, I think so.
Mokina Elementary School? Yeah.
Creek only.
Where are you, Tinley? Are you Tinley, Kimberly Heights?
Oh.
Homewood?
Homewood, yeah, Homewood now.
The problem is with the morning.
Stager.
So we're gonna take the field experience back to back, right? So we're gonna have 2 next semester.
And then 2 more.
And 2.
And then student teaching. Boom, boom, boom.
It's just a problem with the job, like, I need to
Oh.
change the schedule, I need to do
Because
this,
she's
I need to
like
leave in the
back-to-back,
morning,
it's
like, which school is gonna allow you to leave in the morning for 3 hours?
Right.
Once a week.
Right, so that's why you have a video option and hopefully the classroom in your school that you can, they can accommodate you getting in there in those classrooms.
The option too, if you have that choice, like that worked out well, if you have, 2 different grade levels, like kindergarten or primary, that takes care of 2 options at your school. You just have to switch one of those days during the week. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
but that's not her position. She's an ESL
I
pull-out
mean, like,
teacher.
I
that's
can,
not-
I don't know what I'm doing, but
No.
think about it. I mean, I can just push in, but a lot of kids are gonna lose their services, and I don't know.
She is, but she
To the principal.
No, she just.
Right.
No. She's.
Because I do second grade now, I mean, I can go to kindergarten, switch with another ESL teacher.
Yeah.
But like we do paid, like each block is paid.
Right.
So not
Right.
yes, if it has
Right, and we
to be
need 2
40
in there for 3 hours, right, yeah.
So in terms of the spring, for spring student teaching for 2025, you would not have gotten the email yet. And it'll come from your advisors.
So your advisors will send you a link to the student teaching application. It's, again, a DocuSign. We use it to create kind of a flow, a process. You'll receive that
They
in
asked who the email
spring
came from, so I just.
for those of you who are going to teach in spring 2025. You will apply and include documents like a resume, cover letter, and unofficial transcripts. And then those of you who are job embedded, you would submit either your MOU or an updated field experience. I've kind of modified it to be a student teaching experience placement sheet so that we know where you're going to be. Something to keep in mind and something you might want to work on over the break, if you have a break, is to think about making a plan to visit the career services.
They're coming to their class next week, or this week.
Come into the class.
They're coming to their class, so they don't have to do that.
But you do need to have 2 visits with career services in order to get a verification letter that someone looked at your cover letter and your resume. So that will be uploaded with your application also. Something to keep in mind that if you'll get that link from your advisor. That's what you need to know at this point.
All right. Well, go ahead and get some more food, socialize with each other, and you can talk to anyone that's in the room if you need anything else. That's it.
We're so happy you came.
We are.
We were so excited about this.
We
Thank
were.
you. It's so
Thank
nice
you
to
for
see
being
you
here.
all.
And so the next step then is for them to contact Dr. History.
She's gonna send a
it out,
form.
but you guys go back to your schools and start talking to them about what your plan is, how you can
Email
get.
any of us to find out more.
And I'm gonna send this through announcements to the slideshow for everybody. So I'll send it through, so you have it. Were you raising your hand?
Professor History, can you hear me?
Are we gonna have mentors, like the mentors we had this semester, in terms of
I don't
Yeah.
have,
Right, there's still, they're with you.
she's got it on her computer. Yes.
I just have one thing.
Yes.
My classmate. In your class, you required us to do 2 professional developments that were already embedded and required. And my question was, is that already taken care of? Is there something else we need to do? We never submitted it. Most of us never.
Oh, I have
it. Really? Well, they took my screenshot. I'm the only one that did. What?
There's a form and some of them are additional ones too, but I told you.
So I wouldn't mind it,
I took the other ones, it was fine. I mean, I can submit them, but I really
Yeah, you just need to upload them. Submit it.
I don't remember that.
Well, you go. It's all good. Everything's due this week.
I was working,
talk to the program coordinator over there. I've never had any hiccups. I don't know. Okay, that's our program coordinator right there. You asked for your ride. I've never got
No.